the upcoming golden age of handheld consoles. Great news, gamers! There is some inside news that has reached the surface. Sony's next piece of gaming hardware is going to be a handheld device that has been codenamed the Q Lite. The Q Lite is not going to be a cloud streaming device. It will use remote play with the PS5, which is a feature Sony has been trying to push of late. Reports claim that the handheld console will resemble a PS5 controller, but with a massive 8-inch LED touchscreen at the center, also being equipped with some haptic feedback. We hear that the Q Lite is in the quality and testing phase and is likely to be released at some point between the PS5 Pro and the detachable disk drive PS5. It's likely that the device will come out in 2024, and there will at least be some interesting new competition to the Nintendo Switch, which, including all its extensions like OLED and Lite, has now sold nearly 100 million units. We will also talk about Asus's new handheld device called the ROG Ally, as well as Valve's Steam Deck. There will be some surprise entrants at the end as well. Handheld consoles have been around for a long time now, with Mattel introducing the first handheld electronic game, which was called Auto Race. There have been some companies who have tried their hand at making single-game consoles like Olido and Milton Bradley. In 1978, Merlin became the first commercially successful handheld console. However, it was Nintendo who caused an explosion in this market by releasing the Game Boy in 1989. Game Boy and its successor, the Game Boy Color, sold over 120 million units worldwide, making them a mammoth success. Many companies have entered the market and left. Good companies like Atari, Bandai and Sega. However, things became serious and interesting when Sony launched its PlayStation Portable PSP in 2004. It became a huge success with around 80 million units sold. Thus, for a long time since 2004, Nintendo and Sony have been chiefly competing to be king in the handheld console market. Things changed slightly in February 2022, however, when Valve decided to shake things up in the handheld console scene and released the Steam Deck. More on that later. And to add to this mix, the company Asus is launching a new handheld device soon called the ROG Ally, which will essentially be a handheld PC running Windows 11. Very little is known about the device apart from the fact that its display is 1080p at 120Hz and that it houses an AMD APU chip and a powerful ROG GPU. The launch of the PSP in 2004 was a huge deal because finally it meant that Nintendo had some serious competition. The level of innovation in the gaming industry increased overall, and we got even better and legendary games as these two gaming behemoths tried to outdo each other at every opportunity. The successor to the PSP is PS Vita, which came out in 2011, but that was an unmitigated disaster as it failed to compete with the Nintendo 3DS. To put that into perspective, the PS Vita sold around 16 million units, while the Nintendo 3DS sold over 76 million, almost 5 times as many units sold. There are many reasons attributed to the failure of the PS Vita, like the lack of exclusive games from Sony, as well as the lack of third-party support, apart from the rise of mobile gaming and of course the Nintendo 3DS. Sony wasn't releasing any good exclusive games, and other gaming studios decided to pull support from the device as well. An inflection point came when the game Monster Hunter, which was a big attraction in favor of the PSP, was released for the Nintendo 3DS instead of the PS Vita by Capcom. Sony attempted to turn into indie game developers to salvage the PS Vita, but that only worked to a small extent. Overall, the device was a commercial failure. Nintendo is, at the moment, the ruler of this market. The best-selling handheld console of all time is the Nintendo DS, released in 2004, which sold around 154 million units. Ever since the failure of the PS Vita, been waiting to enter the market again and compete with Nintendo. This news gives us hope that codenamed Q Lite, or whatever the device finally ends up being called, is a good competitor to the Switch, Steam Deck and ROG Ally. Finally, to talk a bit about the Steam Deck, it is relatively new, having been released just over a year ago. It has sold around 1 million units till date. Valve is obviously famous for legendary games like Half-Life and Portal, apart from Counter-Strike and Dota 2. The Steam Deck runs a version of Linux called SteamOS, although you can also install Windows on it. It's a good device, although it's not as plug-and-play as the Switch. However, its open operating system makes the Steam Deck much like a handheld PC. To conclude, we know that at least two big competitors are entering the market to battle with the Nintendo Switch, thanks to Sony and Asus. Maybe other companies are also working on their own handhelds. You never know. There are some other devices that we haven't talked about that are also quite good. This includes devices like the Evercade EXP, Logitech G Cloud, Abernic RG353B Retro, and Razer Edge Android gaming handheld console. Even apart from these, there are several others that are good. It's an exciting and booming market. The fight for the title of the best handheld is on, and we at Marvelous can say for sure that this is an awesome time to be a gamer.